Hey guys, my name's Jose, and this is another episode of Buy or Pass. In this series, I will look at the financial documents of a company and decide if I was looking for another investment, would I buy or pass? Before we start, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to get info on new episodes and other videos. So let's begin. So today, we're going to do Buy or Pass on Apple. This is going to be a three-part episode. Today's going to be part one, where we're going to talk about the 10Q report for quarter one 2019. Just a quick introduction. All the information I pulled, which was the 10Q file, was pulled from the Apple's investors website. Like I mentioned before, this will be a three-part episode. Today we're going to take a look at the 10Q report. Tomorrow we'll take a look at their earnings transcripts. I'll pull out some of the key notes that they've mentioned there. And finally, we'll take a look at the numbers of the company using the website Lazy FA, which allows me to see all the numbers of different quarters. So first, we're going to take a look at the main numbers. Here we're going to see the revenue, cost of sales, operating expense, operating income, and net income. We'll start off with revenue. Revenue is broken down into two stuff, product and services. So in products, you'll see your iPhones, your iMac, your iWatch. And services, you see any subscription base they might have, Apple Care, iMusic, so on and so forth. So right here, we're going to see this quarter that just ended, quarter one, which ended December 29, 2018. And we're going to compare it to the same quarter last year of 2017, December 30th, 2017. The first, we'll see products. Products we can see has taken a hit. Last year was $79 billion. This year was $73.4 billion, a decrease of about close to $6 billion. Services, on the other hand, have increased about almost $2 billion. I want to say about 1.7, 1.8. Last year was $9.1 billion. This year was $10.8 billion. So total net sales last year was higher compared to this quarter. So last year's quarter was $88.2 billion. This quarter was $84.3 billion. So year to year quarter, we've seen a decrease in the past year. Next, we're going to take a look at cost of sales. So if we look at total cost of sales, this quarter cost of sales is less than last year's quarter. And that makes sense, right? They're selling less products. So with less products selling, it means less transactions, less costs are happening. So this past quarter, it was about $48.2 billion in products, and about last quarter was $50.5 billion, $50.5 billion. So like I mentioned, right, cost of sales is lower just because the actual products themselves has also decreased. So a lot of less transactions are happening. Gross margin this past quarter kept about $32.03 billion. Last year, same quarter, was $33.9 billion, almost $2 billion higher. If we take a look at operating expense, so in operating expense, we see this company is spending more money in research and development, which is good. That helps out with the company having great products. This same quarter last year was $3.4 billion, where now it's $3.9 billion. So an increase of about $500 million of extra money for research and development. Total operating expense did increase by about $1 billion, and we can see about 500 came from research and development, another 500 came from selling and general administrative. So operating expenses are increasing. Next, the only thing I really like to see here is net income. So we can see net income this quarter compared to same quarter last year is pretty close, even though the huge drop in revenue. So revenue dropped about $4 billion like we mentioned, but net income, they only lost about $100 million when they lost about $4 billion in revenue. And we can see the main reason for that is taxes. Last year They were charged almost $7 billion in taxes, where this year it was $4 billion. So we can see that offset in taxes has helped this company maintain that positive net income and not seem like it lost that much revenue, even though it has. So that's definitely an important number to see here, that their taxes are a lot lower, which has made their net income pretty much similar to last year, even though revenue itself has dropped about $4 billion. Here, earnings per basic share is now 4.22 compared to last year's 3.92. Next, we'll take a look at sales by country. So here we can see that net sales have increased in America. Last year was 35.2 billion. This year was 36.9 billion, an increase of about 1.7 billion dollars. In Europe, we see a drop in net sales. Last year was 21.05 billion dollars. This year was 20.36 billion dollars, a decrease of about 700 million dollars. In Greater China, we see the biggest hit, and this is definitely where the revenue dropped. Last year, it was about 17, almost $18 billion from Greater China, where now it's only $13.1 billion. So a decrease of about $5 billion in close to $5 billion in revenue in China. Japan has also seen a decrease in revenue. Last year was $7.2 billion. This year was $6.9 billion. Not a big drop, but it's still a drop nonetheless. And for the rest of the Asia Pacific, there has been a small increase. So yeah, as we can see, we're gonna see that most of that revenue drop was due to China's net sales being much lower. Next, we're gonna take a look at the numbers of the revenue divided by section, by products. So here we have the iPhone. The iPhone is their biggest seller, and that's one of the scary things for me, but it is what it is. Then the iMac, iPad, wearables, and services. So like we mentioned, this quarter, 84 was a total of $84 billion in revenue. iPhone was $51.9 billion out of that 84, which made up about 61.5% of revenue. The iMac was $7.4 billion. It increased compared to last year's 6.8, so an increase of about $600 million. And the iMac is about 8.7%. The iPad also increased. This year was $6.729 billion. Last year, same quarter, was $5.75 billion, and the iPad is about almost close to 8% of the revenue. Next, we have wearables. They make up 86%, and wearables again also seen a big increase. Last year was $5.48 billion. This year was $7.3 billion. So here we can see iPhone sales are down by about 10K, by about $10 billion. But overall revenue is only down by about $4 billion. So that means the other sectors are growing, but the scary thing is iPhones are still 61.5% of this company's sales. Next, we'll take a look at assets. So here we can see we're taking a look at assets compared to December 29, 2018 compared to the previous quarter, September 29, 2018. So cash and cash equivalents has increased in the past 3 months. September 29, 2018, it ended at 25.9 million. Where now it's at 44,000 million dollars, so about $44 billion. So we have an increase in cash equivalents. We also have an increase in marketable securities. Overall, in the past 3 months, the assets have increased by about $9 billion. Total current assets last quarter, September 29th, were 131, where this quarter was 140, an increase of about $9 billion. And we see a huge increase in mainly in cash and cash equivalents. That's where we see that big jump of about $20 billion. And then we see some decrease overall. But I honestly prefer to have most of the current assets based on cash and cash equivalents. Non-current assets have also increased compared to last quarter. The last quarter was $365 billion. This quarter was $373 billion. We can see the major increase here was due to other non-current assets. Property, plants, and equipment decreased by about $2 billion, and marketable securities decreased by about $12 billion. A few highlights. It does mention in the 10Q that as of December 29, 2018, the company has no customers that individually represent 10% or more of trade receivables. That's great. I definitely don't like to see a company that relies a lot on certain customers. So this company has no customers that individually represent 10% or more. The company also has a share purchase program. On May 1st, 2018, the company announced that it will be buying about $100 billion of the company's stock. Right now, $37.3 billion have been spent, so this company still has about $62 billion to spend on stock repurchase. One thing to notice, on this past 3 months, ended December 29th, the company purchased $38 million shares for a total cost of $88.2 billion. I did the quick math for you guys, and that's an average of $215 per share. So right now the stock is probably about 170. So it does seem like they overpaid at the moment. So that's it with the 10Q report, guys. I hope you enjoyed the information. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also check out my website and my Twitter. Like I said, next part, tomorrow we're going to take a look at the transcript to see what Tim Cook and the rest of the team said during their Q1 and if it was any different from what we just saw. And after that, we'll take a look at the numbers throughout the years to see if the current trend of the stocks. So I hope you guys enjoyed the episode, and see you next time.